All right, so this is day 2 of a ViPR, Dumbbell, and TRX workout, okay? So in day 2, trying to focus a little bit more on some back, hamstrings, and triceps. We still have some other agility exercises in there as well. So same sequence and pattern as we did for day 1, where again, you have 4 exercises for your first circuit, and then you have 4 exercises for a second circuit. But in circuit 1 and in circuit 2, you're going to do 3 rounds of those 4 exercises. Okay, and again, 15 repetitions for all of these. So the very first exercise on day 2 is a ViPR burpee. Okay, so really important on this one, when you do the ViPR burpee, you want to make sure that your hand grip is right here on the inside grip. Okay, if you do a burpee with your hands on the handles, that's actually one of the ViPR don'ts. Okay, because you can potentially break the handle if you put your weight on this handle. Okay, the handles are actually one of the weakest parts of the ViPR. So just make sure you bring your hands here onto this inside grip before you do this burpee. Okay, so for this particular exercise, you're just standing with your feet about, shoulder hip width apart, and you're squatting all the way down, and then you're just stepping back like this, and then you step back in that low squat position, and then you lift and pull that ViPR back up. Okay, so that's 1. And again, down, just alternate which leg you step back with. Step back in, make sure your butt is next to your ankles before you stand up. That's 2. Okay, so you have 15 of those ViPR burpees, just like that, no push-ups. Okay. Exercise number 2 is a band standing row. Okay, so for this one, a lot of times you can put the band and wrap it around your pull-up bar, but for this one, you're basically just holding that band, kind of similar to this, and then you're just trying to do this standing row where you're just kind of pulling it straight back, just like this, okay? And you can kind of change the position of your hands as needed. So sometimes you can do it with more of a overhand grip, like this. You can do it in a neutral grip, more like this. You can also do it in an underhand grip, more like this, okay? But it's the standing row. And again, we're trying to get 15 repetitions of this. And again, if you need a little more resistance, you can back up. That'll make it tougher. If you need a little bit more, you can also add a few pulses for every rep. So coming back and doing 3, 2, 1, release. A few different ways to make that a little tougher, okay? Next one we're gonna do is a stability ball hamstring curl, okay? So for this one, we're just using the stability ball. You're gonna lie on your back with your feet on top of the ball. And then you're just trying to lift your hips up off the ground, your hands are on the floor. You're just rolling the ball in and then letting it back out. Rolling it in, letting it out. Now again, the higher you lift your hips up in the air, the harder this is gonna be. Okay, the lower you keep your hips, the easier it's going to be. Okay, but you're just trying to roll in and then back out. Roll the ball in and back out. Okay, so that's the 3rd exercise in that series. And then the last one that we're going to do is the band standing tricep press down. So again, if the band is just wrapped around that same pull-up bar, this will work fine. But again, your elbows are right next to your side, and you're just trying to press that band straight down and back up. Okay, so we're just trying to focus on the backs of the arms here on the tricep. And again, for this one, the further you walk back, the tougher it is. As you walk further forward, that gets a little easier. Make sure when you're doing this one, that your elbows stay right next to the sides of your rib. What I don't want to see is where you start doing this and I start seeing people's elbows kind of creeping away like this, or they start doing this with their shoulder joint moving versus their elbow joint. So this is shoulder joint motion, which I don't want. This is elbow joint motion, which is what I do want, okay? So that's the last exercise of the first circuit on day 2, okay? So again, you do all 4 of those exercises with 3 sets, and again, you're gonna rest for 1 minute after you complete 4 of those, or those first set, okay? The second circuit is starting with a ViPR shovel drill. So for this one, we have to do 15 on each side. We're gonna hold the ViPR like this. So you have one hand on that single handle grip, the other hand is kind of cupping the edge. From here, your feet are about shoulder width apart, and again, you're kind of scooping up the snow, and then you're pitching it. Okay, so scoop and pitch, scoop and pitch, okay? So when you do this one, this action, this elbow is kind of coming up just like if you're gonna elbow somebody underneath the chin behind you, okay? And then this hand's just kind of going along for the ride. So you wanna use a lot of abs, you can use that lat on that side, use your legs as well, kind of load and then unload, okay? So 15 on each arm for that ViPR shovel exercise. The next one we're gonna do is a dumbbell bent over row on the bench. So for this one, you wanna make sure that your bench is flat. So you're just gonna lift it up a little bit, adjust that so it's in a flat position. Then you're gonna grab your dumbbell, and with this one, make sure that your knee and your hand are at least 2 feet apart, or at least like 2 dumbbell lengths apart. Okay, that's gonna ensure that your back stays straight. What I don't wanna see is your back start to hunch or round up like this. And a lot of times when people have their hand too close, you start to see that action. So again, you're kind of strided out there, longer stride position, this arm's down, and we're just pulling that straight up and then back down. Do this slow enough, you should really feel this right behind the shoulder blade of the working arm, okay? So again, just make sure the back stays flat, abs stay in, and you're just trying to pull this up and down 15 times on the right arm, and then 15 times in that same way, okay? Then the next exercise that we have is the stability hamstring march, okay? So for this one, kind of the same setup as that hamstring curl that we did earlier in the circuit, but this one, you're lying on your back, butt up in the air again, and you just lift one straight leg up, and then you do it back and forth, okay? So you're just doing the straight leg march. Just make sure you keep the knees straight, keep the hips and the butt up, okay? So this one, we're just doing that little straight leg kick up and down. All right, and the last one we have is the standing dumbbell overhead tricep French press. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use these other dumbbells. What you're going to do is take the weight, and you're going to kind of put your palms underneath kind of the head of that dumbbell. We're standing straight up like this. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit so you can see better. When my elbows are in, I'm just trying to push this straight up and back down again, just like a coffee French press motion. So again, just going straight up and back down, straight up and back down. Watch your elbows, okay? Unless your shoulders are bothering you, try to keep those elbows in. If your shoulders are starting to hurt, you can kind of let them creep out just a little bit. But again, our main target muscle are the back of those triceps, right here on the back of those upper arms. All right, so that's the last exercise of day 2.